On a night when the air felt electric and every seat in the arena trembled with anticipation, two nations' hopes walked toward the spotlight. The lights dimmed, the crowd roared, and the first name echoed like a drumbeat across the rafters. Israel, the dream, Madrimov, the Uzbek technician, calm as a blade cooled in ice, stepped through the tunnel with an expression forged in years of disciplined training. Behind him lay a lifetime of amateur wars. Ahead of him, the greatest test of his professional ascent. Moments later, another wave of noise detonated through the arena. Here is Virgil Ortiz Jr. The Texan stormed forward with fire in his stride. Hot-blooded, heavy-handed, a fighter who had never understood the meaning of take a step back. His presence alone raised the temperature inside the ring. There was no belt in the air yet. That night felt bigger than championships. It felt like two worlds colliding. Referee Kieran McCann delivered final instructions, but neither man blinked. They stared through each other with the kind of focus only written by destiny. The bell rang, and instantly, Ortiz Jr. surged forward, a storm in human form. Madrimov responded not with fear, but with movement. Fluid, slick, a master of shifting angles. He glided, pivoted, fired counters off tight windows, trying to interrupt the Texans' momentum. But Ortiz isn't a man you interrupt. He's a man you try to delay. From the opening seconds, both fighters revealed their identities. Madrimov painted the ring with footwork, slipping shots by inches, snapping counters to the body and head. Ortiz hunted with relentless pressure, digging his feet into the canvas, firing double hooks and right hands whenever he trapped Madrimov near a corner. It wasn't a feel-out round. It wasn't cautious. It was the opening chapter of a war. As the early rounds unfolded, the story deepened. Madrimov used every inch of the ring, his amateur pedigree gleaming through the chaos. More than 300 amateur bouts had crafted him into a puzzle, one that shifts shape, direction, and timing with every step. He dipped to his right, rolled left, jabbed upstairs, and constantly forced Ortiz to reset. But Ortiz Jr. doesn't reset. He reloads. The Texan's pressure grew heavier with every minute. He let his hands go, ripping stiff jabs to the body to slow Madrimov's legs. He doubled up on hooks, stepped inside Madrimov's angles, and began touching him just enough to soften the foundation beneath that exquisite footwork. The crowd sensed momentum brewing, one man chasing, the other refusing to be caught. Madrimov responded brilliantly. He countered with crisp right hands, pivoted beautifully along the ropes, and used subtle head movements to turn danger into opportunity. When Ortiz marched forward behind a high guard, Madrimov threaded punches through tiny gaps, reminding everyone why he was undefeated and feared. Still, something was shifting. Ortiz's tempo was rising. His muscles loosened, his rhythm sharpened, and his confidence swelled. He stalked, hunted, and stepped deeper into Madrimov's escape routes. Body shots thudded. Right hands cracked. The ring began to feel smaller, not because it was shrinking, but because Ortiz was taking more and more of it for himself. By the end of these rounds, neither man had secured dominance, but both had declared intention. Madrimov wanted to outthink him. Ortiz wanted to break him, and the crowd knew this was becoming something special, a tactical battle turning into a simmering storm. The middle rounds are where good fighters become great fighters, and it's where elite fighters become something unforgettable. Ortiz Jr. entered this stretch with thunder in his stride. He pushed Madrimov back with heavier combinations. Double left hooks to the body, straight rights down the pipe, chopping shots that forced the Uzbek star to rethink his movement. But Madrimov, ever the adaptive technician, answered with blistering accuracy. He fired punches in clusters. Jab, straight, pivot, hook. He'd land clean, disappear, and reappear at another angle. But no matter how beautifully Madrimov boxed, Ortiz kept coming. It wasn't recklessness. It was intelligent pressure, subtle steps, tiny shifts, patient enough to avoid smothering himself, violent enough to... Ortiz clipped Madrimov with a body shot that froze the arena for a heartbeat. A thudding, brutal punch, one that dug into the ribs and made Madrimov's footwork stumble for the first time. Sensing blood, Ortiz unleashed hell. Hooks, uppercuts, right hands raining like steel. The crowd roared. Madrimov reeled, but refused to fall. He tightened his guard, rolled under punches, fired back with counters that snapped Ortiz's head back. Even under fire, the Uzbek showed heart and skill beyond measure. His IQ kept him alive. His courage kept him fighting. But the momentum was shifting. The pressure was mounting. And the war was officially underway. These rounds weren't boxing. These rounds were survival. If the early fight was tactical brilliance and the middle fight was war, then the late fight was something deeper, raw willpower. Ortiz Jr. entered these crucial rounds looking like a man possessed. His engine didn't slow, it accelerated. His pressure wasn't just physical, it was psychological, stalking Madrimov into moments of hesitation. The Texan slammed hooks into the ribs, drilled right hands to the body, and suffocated Madrimov's movement with sheer force. Madrimov's brilliant footwork began to fail. His legs grew heavy. His pivots grew slower. The pace Ortiz set was monstrous, relentless enough to crack even the most disciplined fighter. And yet Madrimov fought back with everything he had. He landed sharp counters, cracked Ortiz with flush left hooks, and even backed the Texan up in moments of brilliance. But the tide was unstoppable. Ortiz's pressure became overwhelming. His punches carried weight. His combinations grew longer, more violent. Madrimov, trapped more often, was absorbing punishment that echoed through the arena. The referee issued warnings. Tension rose, and the crowd felt the fight slipping into Ortiz's hands. Still, Madrimov refused to surrender. He fired a beautiful left hook late in the round, a punch that rocked Ortiz and sent a ripple of disbelief through the crowd. It was a reminder, even tired, even hurt, Madrimov was dangerous. But Ortiz walked through it. And by now, the difference was clear. Madrimov was fighting to survive. Ortiz was fighting to conquer. The final rounds were a showcase of heart on both sides. Ortiz came out like a man trying to close the show, digging to the body, hammering combinations, pushing Madrimov against the ropes. His conditioning was monstrous. His output was savage. Every punch seemed intended to end the fight then and there. Madrimov, exhausted yet unbroken, fought back with pure bravery. He landed clean counters, dug deep into reserves most fighters never find, and refused to let the moment crush him. But the damage was telling. His timing slipped. His accuracy wavered. His legs grew unreliable. Ortiz's pressure was breaking through more often, landing cleanly enough to turn the tide fully in his favor. The crowd stood for the final 30 seconds, both fighters exchanging in the center of the ring, neither willing to let the other have the last say. Sweat, blood, and will collided in a final storm of punches. The bell rang. Both men drained the crowd, embraced in warriors' respect. Then came the moment. Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of boxing, we go to the judges' scorecards. The arena held its breath. For your winner by unanimous decision. Seconds stretched into eternity. and still WBC super welterweight champion of the world, Virgil Ortiz Jr. The crowd erupted. Ortiz raised his hands, battered but victorious. Madrimov, though defeated, walked away with admiration, not for survival, but for matching fire with fire in a brutal war. It wasn't just a fight, it was a test of heart, a collision of styles, a war at 154, and a night both men and everyone who watched would never forget.